Hello and welcome to the first lesson in KQ6, Life After War, of Depression, War and Recovery 1930 to 1951. In this key question, we look at things like demobilisation, we look at the war damage, and we look generally at how people's lives sort of attempted to get back to normal after the Second World War. So first things first, I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of this key question. So what I want you to do is click on this link and it'll take you to a video on BBC Bitesize. I only want you to watch the clip up to 1 minute and 24 seconds. And as you go, you're going to have to pause it because I want you to answer these questions. So you're looking at when was VE Day? How many homes have been destroyed? What does the term demobilise actually mean? How many people returned to Civvy Street? What had changed for them? What had changed in politics? And when did Labour win the election? So answer those questions for me. You're probably going to have to pause the video a few times to make sure that you're getting the answers. But I'm going to suggest that you pause this video now, go to that link and have a go for me. So hopefully you've done that now and you've got those questions answered, okay? And now we're going to actually have a look at the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of World War II. So this video here, which I want you to go to YouTube and watch. I can't play it for you on here, so I want you to go to that link there and watch for me. Just how do you think people felt at the end of World War II? What problems do you think the end could bring? So watch the first, I'd say, 3 minutes of that video and have a think about how you think people felt at the end of World War II. What problems could it bring for them, do you think, at the end of the war? So we've all seen images of hurricanes, storms, fires hitting parts of the world in recent times. And have you ever wondered how recovery and repair is organised and what their priorities are? Okay, so things happen, natural disasters happen quite all the time. And we have to think about how to actually rebuild the country and rebuild these areas. So to start with, we're going to look at what the economic position of Britain was in 1945. Okay, what position was Britain in financially at the end of the First World War? So on May 1945, celebrations throughout Britain and Europe heralded VE Day victory in Europe. Germany's a defeated power and the war in Europe was over. During the first half of the 20th century, Britain had been involved in 2 world wars and come out of both victorious. The Second World War lasted for almost 6 years, and behind the victory celebrations was a country that faced many problems. Fighting a war is costly, and the Second World War was fought at an enormous cost, financially as well as in terms of human life and injury. The demobilisation of military personnel, the assessment of war damage, and reconstruction and formation of a new government were all needed. So where do you start? Where would you start? You've got to remember as well that this is 6 years of war, 6 years that the country has thrown every single fibre of its being into the war effort, into making sure that we win, into making sure that our troops are fed and watered and they've got uniforms, into military tactics, into dealing with bombings. And there was euphoria because they knew this wasn't going to happen again. They were happy, but behind it all, what you've got to think is that there were problems as well. Now, the country had run itself into debt during the Second World War. Not only that, but you imagine women went into workplaces, they were no longer needed, so they were pushed out again. The people came back from the war, they'd been away for 6 years. Children come back from being evacuated. Some of them hadn't seen their parents for 6 years. You know, a 3-year-old could have gone off and come back as a 9-year-old, and you understand how different a child can be between the age of 3 and 9. It was a big adjustment, and it wasn't very easy at all. Okay, so where would you start? Have a little think about that. Where would you start in trying to sort the country out? So this is from A Popular Culture in Post-War Wales, a book written by a historian called Gareth Elwyn Jones. So in 1945, the people of Wales anticipated that economic recovery and the welfare state, which we've looked at, would generate a new social confidence, which in turn would prompt a resurgence of traditional and distinctive culture. Newly elected Labour politicians were given to describing their mission as one of building a new Jerusalem. This was a generation that had experienced history. There were personal, family and collective memories of strikes, lockouts, unemployment, neglect, and then more recently the demands of total war. There were people impatient to shrug off their disadvantaged condition and commit to themselves to renewal. So these people wanted a change. They wanted something different. They'd gone through a depression. They'd gone through 2 world wars. They'd seen poverty. They wanted change. They wanted to have a better life. Okay, and these were the expectations of people. After the Second World War, we fought this victory. We fought this. Now we've been victorious. We've got rid of fascism. We've pushed Hitler down. We've shown that being right is the way forward. So now we need to reap the benefits of that. Okay. So what we're going to look at is some of the problems though. So we've got Britain's national debt. 3.5 million pounds borrowed, huge debt. Some of Britain's national wealth was held as gold and stored at the Bank of England. When a country sells its gold reserves, it's a sign that the country is in debt. In 1945, Britain's gold reserve fell from 806 million to 3 million, so that lots of debt there. Britain had lost 30% of its total wealth. The USA ended the Lend-Lease agreement and bankruptcy loomed. A third of Britain's housing stock had been destroyed. Half of Britain's factories and shops had been destroyed. 2/3 of Britain's merchant fleet, so their ships, their trade-in ships, had been sunk between September 1939 to May 1940. 177 British merchant ships were sunk. Military deaths totaled 264,433, and there was nearly 61,000 civilian deaths as well, so people that weren't in the war. Now, what I want you to do is have a look at this. This is attached, okay, so you can download a copy of this. I want you to think about why it was a problem, what solution do you think you would suggest, and give it a ranking, a priority of how long do you think it would take to solve. So if you think it'd be quite quickly solved, give it a 1. If you think it's going to take a while to solve, give it a 10. Okay, so I'm going to suggest you pause the video, download that now, and do this. Thank you very much. So how would you describe the economic position in Britain in 1945 after doing that? Was life better? Was it worse, similar, different to life in the Depression? Remember, the 1930s is known as the Devil Decade because it was so terrible. There was so much poverty around and deprivation. Or was the situation the same for people all over Britain from all backgrounds on all levels of wealth? Was it that the Depression targeted the poor who were unable to move throughout the class system, or was it different now because everybody was in the same boat? What do you think? Okay, so make some notes for me. You can do it in spider diagram version, you can do it in notes, you can do it in a few sentences, it's totally up to you. So I'm going to again suggest you pause the video. Okay, so sum up the economic position in Britain in an emoji. Add a speech bubble to explain your choice. So pick one of those emojis and I want you to explain it for me, please. And once you've done that, we're done. Thank you very much.